My name is Holly Vaughn. I am from Pensacola State College, as is Paul Chaney. We are instructional technologists in the e-learning department. We are also the Canvas admins at our school. Pensacola State College is basically a community college. We serve about 26,000 students, and we have both mostly two-year degrees and four-year degrees, some workforce certificates, continuing ed, and adult ed. We have about 630 instructors, a little less than 200 are full-time, and we have 6 locations. 3 are campuses and 3 are smaller centers. Pensacola is located in the panhandle of Florida. We are the western gate to the Sunshine State, also known as the Redneck Riviera. And we are closer to both Mobile, Alabama and Montgomery, Alabama than we are to any city in the state of Florida. In fact, we're a whole time zone away from Florida. We are in the central time zone. That's your trivia for today. Our presentation this afternoon is called Win with Online Tutoring. And we will share with you how we've created virtual tutoring environments in Canvas to provide our students direct access to live tutoring for academic assistance. This session really is going to go over the back end of Canvas. So if you were looking about how we're conducting the tutoring sessions and information like that, we're really not covering that, but we're covering how we're making it work in Canvas. It sounds easy enough, but implementation for us was a little bit challenging. So I will provide just like a quick overview to start off with, to give you a general idea of what our problem was to start off with, our goal, our challenges, and the resolution, and then we'll get into more detail on how we made it work. So before we begin, is there anybody here from the state of Florida? Higher ed? Okay, good. Where are y'all from? Chipotle? Oh, okay, great. Where else? Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Santa Fe. Okay, great, good. So y'all know about performance funding, right? Okay, well, we do too, really well, unfortunately too well. A couple of years ago, the state of Florida told Pensacola State College that we needed to increase student retention and completion rates. And to drive that point home, they took a chunk of our money, which didn't make us very happy. So our performance was not good, so they withheld some of the funding. That's kind of what we do in Florida right now. So as our administration was looking around for ways to help our students and change that, they looked for what was working, and they noticed that the student support systems were good, but they were very limited, specifically the academic tutoring resources. The students who were able to take advantage of those benefited greatly. The problem was they were very limited they were only on campus, they were only at 3 of the campuses with very limited hours. So if you were a student who came to campus during the day, during the hours when those services were available, good for you, you could make use of it. So in looking on how to fix that, the goal became they wanted to expand access to the academic resources, specifically those of the online variety, and in addition to serve all students. And at the time, we were focusing on students who were enrolled in barrier courses. And barrier courses are those courses that a student has to take to complete a degree program, but doesn't necessarily do well in. Like a graphic design student has to take those 2 math courses and the horrible, biology course, and they just don't do well in them. So the online tutoring and online academic resources was delegated to individual academic departments. They were coming up with little video tutorials so students could self-serve how to solve complex math problems. But the online tutoring was delegated to the e-learning department, our department. And we were told we had to find a way to make it work in Canvas because they didn't have any money because the state took the money. No, not really, I'm sorry. So when we thought about how we could create online tutoring in Canvas, there were some challenges we had to kind of work around. Initially, if you're familiar with Canvas, you know that the conferencing tool, which is what we wanted to use, exists only in individual course shells. So logistically, that was just not going to work. And we thought maybe we could have a public course shell, but then we decided, it doesn't have a roster, but you can enroll students, but really it wasn't going to meet our needs. And then we also had to target students taking specific courses. We had to connect those students directly to the tutoring services. And we needed to have a way that we could collect data to see if our efforts, once they were realized, were successful with the students. So what we came up with were virtual tutoring course shells in Canvas. They exist as a course outside of a Canvas course. We use Big Blue Button, the conferencing tool, for live tutoring sessions, and being that the sessions are now available online, we've made the assistance available at hours beyond what we call our business hours, from 7:30 to 4 or 7 to 5 in the summer. And the result was we've increased access to live tutoring services. Students can use laptops, desktops, smartphones. They can be on campus, they can be off campus at home. On the weekends, right now they go till midnight in the math tutoring lab. We saw a significant improvement in retention and completion rates, and we got our money back. We didn't see any of it, though. But additionally, this February, the college was nationally recognized when this program received the Bellwether Award in the category of instructional programs and services. And that's our administration team. They're very happy. That's our president on the left, 2 of our deans, 1 of our tutors in the back. Looks like he's photobombing, because he probably was, no. And then our academic VP. So that's the quick overview. Now to provide a little bit background information of how we're making it work in Canvas, and Paul will provide you some information about how we populate our Canvas environment.
Is this word?
Yeah.
Okay. The way we do it is do this through the SIS imports. Sure, there's, how many people use SIS imports to bring their, okay. And the way we do it is we go ahead and in the SIS, let me see if I can point this there. We have an older system, and we produce, we run the code. There's a program running in it that actually produces 4 raw files, and we call them raw files because as they are, they won't import into Canvas. It's an older, like I say, our SIS is an older system. It adds lines, extra space behind each line, and then it does line breaks. So as they are, they won't work. So what we do is we run a process on the back end on the server. And we take those raw files, take out the spaces, and convert them to UTF-8, and then we call them our upload files. And after that, we use, like I guess everybody else is doing, we're using a curl script to upload them to the Canvas API.
Okay, thanks. So that's how we populate our Canvas environment. And then just to give you a little history of how virtual tutoring came to be, we started a couple of years ago with Canvas in 2014 in the spring, and we were running a small pilot program. Everybody else was still in Angel. We migrated from Angel back then. We had about 20 sections in Canvas, and just for jokes, Paul and my boss said, well, let's just load everybody in Canvas anyway. They won't know about it. So we did, but they didn't know about it. We still had those 20 sections, but luckily we loaded them because the English department, in coordination with the writing lab, came to us and asked if there was a way that the writing lab could have a presence in Canvas for the purpose of diagnostic testing. It seemed all the students taking an English Comp 1 course had to take this diagnostic test to see where they fell score-wise and if they needed remediation to be successful in the English Comp 1 course. We had recently, at that time, done away with a lot of our developmental studies courses. So we manually created a course shell for the writing lab. We, again, enrolled all the students in the English Comp 1 courses, and I'll show you a screenshot of our first enrollment file to get those students in that writing lab course shell. So this is just a snapshot. It's a comma delimited file. Do y'all upload like this? Is this familiar to you? Because our system's so homegrown, I don't know what other people use. Okay, so looking at this file, going across the top in the bolded print are the headers, and then the first 2 records that have the little red rectangle around it. The first record is an actual record coming in to enroll a student in an English Comp 1 course. That 20142, that 5-digit number, it's identifying the section. Then you see the English Comp 1 course, and then the section 234, and then the last 8 characters is the student being enrolled. And we had our upload process programmatically break a line and insert a new record to enroll that same student in the writing lab course shell we manually created. So as that upload was being processed, if you look down at the next 2 highlighted lines for the next student being enrolled in an English Comp 1 course, that student was also then enrolled in the writing lab course shell. So what we ended up with was, in our writing lab course, a section that had over 1,800 users. We also enrolled all the instructors and the lab managers as well, the ones who would be responsible for remediation. But we quickly realized it would be problematic for reporting purposes because the instructors had no way to see whether their students had completed this required assessment. And the lab managers had no way, if they were to provide remediation, to communicate with the instructors because they had no idea which instructor the student belonged to. So we rethought our process, and we decided we needed to modify the section file. Okay, so the section file gets processed in our system before the enrollment file. So what we did with the section file is, as a section was being created for an English Comp 1 course, which you see in the very top record there, just below it programmatically broke a line and inserted a new record to create a section with the same last 4-digit identifier in the Writing Lab course shell. Okay, and then so on. You see the next record happening as well, with the section being created in English Comp 1 course, and then this corresponding section being created in the Writing Lab. And then we tweaked the enrollment file a little bit more to not just enroll the student in the Writing Lab course shell, but to enroll the student in that corresponding section of the Writing Lab course shell, since we had just created those sections. And that, keeping those students affiliated with their section was the key to the success, because now we had a Writing Lab that had over 40 sections, all the sections being taught that spring semester of English Comp 1, whether the course was being taught in Canvas, in Angel, online, on campus, wherever. All those sections and those students had been enrolled into this Writing Lab course shell. Instructors could go to the gradebook and filter by section, and they can see their students, so they could see if their students had taken the required diagnostic and how they scored on it, and if they didn't, to prompt them to take it. And the lab managers were very, I guess, the lab were more able to communicate with the instructors when they provided remediation. And at this time in 2014, remediation was simply additional practice activities and videos and things like that. It really wasn't any tutoring services. So word got out that Canvas was magical and all these cool things were happening, and that summer the math department contacted us, and we were like, oh gosh, they needed the same thing. We reduced the number of developmental studies math courses we had, and our intermediate algebra course was having an issue with students being enrolled who weren't quite ready and needed remediation, and we didn't want to lose the students. We wanted to retain them, but we needed to provide extra academic resources or support to them. So Canvas was great, and our virtual tutoring shells kind of evolved from that. Okay, so how we made virtual tutoring work. That summer, that was, I guess the summer of 2015 now, we've kind of gone a year. That's when the state of Florida knocked on our door and said, hey, you guys have a problem. At the same time, we had an adjunct instructor who was kind of bothering us. He wanted to do a lot of things in Canvas and, kind of gnawing at you. But sometimes those are the best instructors. They really force you to think about how you're what you're doing and how you're enabling the students to get the assistance they need and the instructors to do the job they need to do. This instructor taught 4 sections of 3 different math courses. So he was teaching 4 sections, 3 separate courses. And he wanted a way to provide homework assistance to his students at night, in the evenings. He did not have an office on campus, and we could not cross-list the course shells because the students were in different courses, and we have policies regarding that. So he bothered us enough that we created an extra course shell for him. We called it, an office hours course shell. And I think, Paul, you manually kind of did with the CSV or whatever, uploaded his 4 sections into that course shell. That gave students direct access to the conferencing tool and the instructor on the times that he advertised that he was going to have office hours or homework assistance in the evenings. And it made it very efficient for him to manage that, because the limitation of that conferencing tool in each individual course shell and not outside and on the system as a whole was a challenge for us. So that's how we started with that. Then we started thinking, as we were going into the big fall semester 2015, we really needed to rethink the back end of Canvas. We were getting a better handle on how Canvas worked, and we decided we needed to create a sub-account specific for the purpose of the Diagnostic Lab and the virtual tutoring course shells we were starting to use. We were hoping that would work, actually. So the way our Canvas account is separated, we have an academic sub-account and a non-academic sub-account. academic sub-account houses all those courses that come from SIS and nothing else. The non-academic side houses everything else, even if it has like an academic support purpose or role. Those are the words we chose. So we added the tutoring course shells to that lab sub-account as well as the diagnostic lab course shell. Then we had to think about the role of the tutors. We based their role on the teacher permissions, but we kind of locked down what we allow our instructors to do. We don't allow instructors to add other instructors. We don't allow them to add students or delete students. We don't allow them to change the dates. They think they can, but we had that control somewhere else. But we decided we needed to give the tutors a little more permissions. Specifically, we wanted the tutors to be able to add other tutors and then to deactivate students if a student no longer wanted to be a part of it. We did not want to manage all that if we didn't have to. So the only permission that the tutors did not have was to manage the sections within those course shells. They could not edit, create, or delete sections, because that was the key for us in keeping those students aligned to where they existed in our courses. And then the tutoring course shells are very simple. They just have a homepage, a customized homepage, and we have a virtual tutoring coordinator. So she manages this with the hours put on top on the homepage, and then in the left-hand navigation, just a link to announcements and then the conferences link. And that's it. And the only purpose for that shell is online virtual tutoring assistance and nothing else. And then we added the tutors. And this is just looking at the tutor roles within the course shell. This is the math. Yeah, this is the math virtual tutoring. We have our dean is in there. He just popped in. One of our instructors was in there helping out for a little bit. But the two bottom tutors, Susan Stanton is our virtual tutoring coordinator. She's the one now, she's hired full-time to do that, who runs all this. And she created we created a math tutor, just like a generic role that her tutors share. And we do have paid tutors. And I think Paul will take you through how we create these shells and populate them.
Okay, we're back again with the 4 upload files that we use. We toyed with the idea of making a separate upload because you really, I mean, it's something you could do. You don't have to keep it as updated as other things, and you could ask for that separate. But and I was also concerned when we were doing this, because we were already doing the diagnostic and remedial labs. I was concerned that that the extra load of doing this, I mean, those 2 types of labs only pulled 1 course. I was a little bit worried about them, just creating too much more than it could handle. But after some tests, we went ahead and did that and used these same course files. When we made the modifications to it, the users, we didn't have to do anything to that file. It was good to go. Courses, sections, and enrollments are the ones we had to actually do some alterations. And of course, this is an example of the tutoring, of the courses file. Of course, at the top you'll see the column headers, and then after that, all the records. It was real simple on the courses file. All we did was just append, you'll see D, E, if I can point up there. That is the last real SIS course we had. So all we did was just append the virtual tutorings to the end of it. And that's a little closer look. I keep forgetting to click that. Okay, next comes a sections file, and that's where we really had to start doing some, putting some logic into there. We got, in green we have section ID, and in yellow we have the course ID. If we zoom in on here, this is essentially what we're doing. We're looking at we're looking for a particular list of courses. These are all math courses. And that's the big difference between the remedial labs and this. We have a list of courses, we put it in an array, we test the actual course number against that list, and according to whatever that, if in this case there's 2 math courses, we just duplicate another line beneath it with the same section number. You can even see this with the chemistry course up here. It's that same function that's putting them into the different, from a list of courses into the different course shells. That gives us what we need. We need sections to differentiate in the course thing. So that gave us multiple sections. And again, when we came down to that last file, enrolling them, we're doing the same trick. We're identifying specific course numbers. Let me zoom in on that. Identifying specific section IDs and course numbers right there. And in addition to bringing down 9586, the section number, back down to the end of this, to the section ID, we're also doing the student ID. So it's just it's a real simple trick, but it does it creates something that doesn't exist in the SIS ID and puts it into something that exists in Canvas.
So for this past spring semester, you can see the numbers at the bottom of the slide of how many students we had enrolled in the different tutoring shells. We were, as Paul was saying, with the math diagnostic course shell and the writing lab course shell, we were targeting only students in a particular course. English Comp 1 for the writing lab and intermediate algebra for the math lab. But for our tutoring courses, we had a bunch of courses for which we had to grab those students and put them in. So we maintained their section affiliation. We targeted students enrolled in specific math courses, English courses, and science courses. Those were some barrier courses that were identified that students were having most trouble with and preventing them from completing degrees. And then we had to gather some data because we really had to make sure that this was going to work. Initially, our enrollment file both added and withdrew students as they withdrew from the class. And that quickly became apparent that it was not going to work because when I don't know who it was, Brenda or something, our person who was going through and getting the data, they noticed that some of the students who actually used the tutoring services actually ended up withdrawing from the course anyway, and their usage wasn't being calculated. And the college, in trying to accurately represent the data, wanted those students included. So we modified the enrollment file to not drop the students, and instead now, upon request from the students, they can be deactivated. That the virtual tutor can do that. That's why we've given those extra permissions to the tutors. And what that does is retain their data. Some of the initial challenges in using a Canvas course shell for live tutoring is there's a lot of students in there. It's live video, and it caused some network issues for us, so we had to upgrade and change our network provider. The northern end of our county is very rural. We have a center up there. It's about a little over an hour away, and they do not have consistent internet service. I've been at the college for 16 years, and they probably have had 16 ISPs, unfortunately. So the only thing we can do for them, we can't fix that, but we do allow them to come to the Century Center 5 days a week when it's available. I don't know if it's open on Saturdays. And they can use the computers there because there's a direct line to the college. And then these conference invitations were so annoying. That's not your fault. But every time we started up a conference, it had in the math tutoring lab, there are over 3,800 students. It's got to cycle through and send out invitations to all those students because you want them to be able to join the conference. They can't join if they're not invited. So what we decided to do was, and especially with the math tutoring has sessions twice a day, 5 days a week. In the summer, it's 4 days a week, twice a day, and then on the weekends. We decided to adopt long-running conferences. They'll start the conference on Monday, and then when it's time, they all get in. If the student's there, they'll tutor, they'll provide the assistance if they want, and then when it's time for the conference to end, instead of ending the conference or stopping it, they just leave. And then the next tutor who works that afternoon or that evening just gets in and works with those students who shows up, and then they just leave. And we've done this now for a couple of semesters, and that has not been an issue, and that's really solved the issue of, I'm so dang tired of these, again, it's a Canvas thing. The other issue we're fighting right now is a little bit with the iOS, because there is some Flash base, And we're having, but I'm sure that that'll be worked out, right? I hope. Okay, perfect. Let's see where we are. So today, we provide direct access one-on-one tutoring services for all our students enrolled in any math course, any writing emphasis course. So that's any course that has like a Gordon Rule requirement, sociology, psychology, English Comp 1 and 2, and then the barrier science courses. We've had anatomy and physiology, tutoring shells, we've had chemistry, we had physics. We have hired a full-time virtual tutoring coordinator, and we have trained so far 11 tutors, and that's a real key to that, is training those tutors. But Susan, our virtual tutoring coordinator, handles that. We don't, luckily, we just make it work, and then we say have at it. Beyond virtual tutoring and going forward, that instructor who was kind of that adjunct, just an adjunct, just bothering us. So he kind of was the impetus for virtual office hour shells. What he wanted to do made sense. A way to conference with his students after hours without having to get into individual course shells. So we now have virtual office hours, course shells. An instructor can elect, opt in to have these shells. They do that through our e-roster process. It's also the same place they go when they want to opt in to have a Canvas course shell for the course or section that they're teaching. They can also elect to then have, and even if they're not using Canvas, they can elect to have a virtual office course shell in Canvas where all their students from any section they're teaching will be uploaded, and they're limited in what they can do in those virtual office course shells. They can only conference with the students. They can't do anything else, because we have some that will start teaching there, because everybody's in one course. And I had a marketing video, but it's really kind of annoying, so we're just going to go past that. Well, it's. Do you want to see it? It's marketing. See if I can bring it up. I told her no, but let's see.
Just click on it. That's it.
Oh, you might have to help me here because I am not a Mac person. Will that go?
Yep.
No?
No. Copy it and paste it.
Oh, God, I'm not a math person. And somebody else can help me do that. It was just one of our students really just stating how virtual tutoring has helped him. And after I put it in and I watched it, I thought, I'm not a Mac person. I know, but I'm not. What I should say is I'm not a pad person. I'm a mouse person. So, which sounds bad considering my job. I know. Anyway, any questions while we're trying to bring this up? No, we covered everything? Awesome. Oh, Josh. You know where the badge is for location 5. Oh, shoot. Yes. And that is why I brought my readers. Yeah. Oh, let me repeat the question. Thank you. I'm new to this. Josh asked if we had the statistics on how many students were using the math course shell. So let me find my data from. What I have is percentage rates. Will that work? So in 2015, when we first started, student success rates for, and this is broken down by, let's see, the different math courses. Students who utilize virtual tutoring, let's just say elementary statistics, 90% of them utilizing were considered successful in that class in that semester. 73% who did not utilize virtual tutoring. Individual students, I don't have that, but I would say in just a generic sense, we put about 3,800 students in, probably 500 or less actually stepped in the shell. Now, whether they actually then beyond that took the next step to access the conferencing tool, I don't know. Uh-huh. Yeah, and our instructors kind of push it. The college kind of got slapped with that performance funding thing. And when the instructors were the ones who kind of came up with doing this, and when the administration team spoke with them. So in order for it to be successful, they've kind of pushed it. And our tutors who were trained are college affiliated. They are some students, they are some of our full-time instructors and some of our adjuncts. So the students taking the math courses, they know when their instructor is tutoring, they're probably more able to jump in. But no, I would say it's a very small number percentage-wise out of that 3,800. You know where what? Okay, Josh knows where to find us all, but he does not know where to find that dang 4th and 5th badge. Okay, question in the way back?
What software are you using for the actual tutoring session?
We're using Big Blue Button. Big Blue Button is the tool we use, and this is Fred right here from Big Blue Button, right? I got your name right? Yeah, and we bothered him tremendously. Well, not me personally, because I don't do that.
I bothered him.
Paul bothered. Paul's our tech guy. Bothered tremendously to get this to work. So yeah, and I don't know. Do some of you use Adobe? Is it Premiere?
Adobe Connect. Is,
Connect instead for your tutoring?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question?
Yes.
Yes, we are using this. The
I
question
found
is.
out about the new Big Blue Button this in your session. So now that the premiere version, I didn't know it is, but now.
And if she asked if we were using the standard Big Blue Button, and I will add to that some of the other software that we had to use to understand how we made it work. That they provided me this information. The tutor, when they're tutoring from on campus, has a Wacom tablet, and they have 3 screens, 3 monitors.
3 screens.
3 monitors. Here we go. A webcam, open source screen sharing software. They use Panopto sometimes. They record if a session went well and the student who was involved with the session agrees. And then Microsoft OneNote sometimes for jotting down. Then isn't that what he uses with
Yes, and there's some. I mean, they don't have to use that setup. They can do this from anywhere. A lot of the tutors can do it from home. And a Surface Pro. And there's a few other things out there that works really well. Anything that can run run the software, and pull up OneNote, and they do the math problems. It's really neat.
And I have our Susan Stanton's contact information I can share with you. She didn't have business cards, she ran out, so she gave me something printed real fast. But okay, question you on the way back.
I was curious, you guys run into any issues, I guess, your tutors with accessibility, where maybe students with special needs
Okay, so the question was, have we run into any accessibility issues? And frankly, I'm not aware if we have. I don't know that that's been an issue. I'm sure it may be, and I'm sure the college would make arrangements to handle that. We're kind of still new with that, but good question, because I'm asking everybody, all these vendors, about accessibility too, so it's about time somebody asked me. Okay, and the hat and the brown hat. We're using Big Blue Button strictly through the Canvas integration, because that's how we connected our students directly. Fred can probably provide you more information a little bit later about.
Yeah, I can show it to you. We've got it running on an iPad, and I spoke about it yesterday. It's still in development, but we'll get you there. And it will be available in the free tier. No cost, will be available to everybody.
You can get there from here. That's our college's motto.
Not today, but in the future.
Okay, I saw other question. Does that say 5 minutes? I can't see, it's so bright. Okay.
Okay, did you want to run that?
Okay. Is it ready? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just have to hit the.
Hello, I'm Taylor Price. I'm 26 years old. I work days and take classes at night here at Pensacola State College. Halfway through my first chemistry class, the virtual tutoring program was introduced. Before then, I was struggling, unable to pass quizzes, tests. After I started using the virtual tutoring program, my grades improved significantly. I started passing tests left and right. Virtual tutoring is very accessible to me. I access it from my house, at work, sometimes at Whataburger, sometimes at a friend's house. I use virtual tutoring 3 or 4 times a week. I use it all the time. It's been my experience that the tutors I have met are very accessible people. They offer their email address or phone number. You can text them, call them. The tutors are very high quality, knowledgeable in the subject. Virtual tutoring has greatly changed the course of my academic career for the better. I'm thankful for that. Hello, I'm
curious, it's one-on-one tutoring?
Sometimes it's a group of students will come in having the same issue.
It sounded like you were scheduling some tutors would say, okay, we're gonna have a session.
I can expand on that. He's asking if it's one-on-one tutoring or do we schedule tutoring. The tutoring sessions are open as they are in on campus between a certain hour, let's say from 1 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and you can just drop in whenever. If there's a tutoring session going on, you just wait. But our students can make appointments with the tutors if they can't meet in those times in which the tutoring services are available. So they are willing to do that because a lot of the tutors, the two you saw there, the one providing the chemistry tutoring is one of our chemistry instructors and the other one is one of our math instructors. That was the annoying adjunct instructor. He's now full-time. But we met.
You realize this is being recorded.
I know. He's a good guy, and if it wasn't for him, they would not have our students wouldn't have been helped. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, if any of you see me around and you find location of badges 4 and 5, I know I sound like I'm begging, but when it's a competition, I just enjoy it so much. I don't care if I win. I just want them. All right, thank you all. Appreciate it.